What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsec, and I'm going to be doing DevOops from HackTheBox, which was a pretty cool theme. It's obviously a pun of DevOps and just common mistakes a developer may make, but it's also a double entendre because the creator of the box, LaCourie, overlooked something simple and had a big oops moment of his own when he realized everyone was solving the box in an unintended way. Essentially, you get a local file inclusion through a XML Entity exploit, and the mistake was leaving the SSH key to the user in its home directory, which you can just read and then SSH into the box. The intended way is to include the source of the application, see that there's a function that you just didn't find through GoBuster, which uses pickles, and exploit pickles just like you did in Canopy. Once you get a shell, everything's the same. You go through the Git history, pull an old SSH key that happens to be the root key, and then you can SSH in with root. So that is the box in a nutshell. Let's jump in. And nmap the box with -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, OA output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it DevOops, then the IP address, which is 10.10.10.91. This can take some time to run, so I've already run it. Looking at the results, we see just 2 ports are listening. SSH is listening on port 22, and we see for Ubuntu 2.4. So most likely this is going to be Ubuntu Xennial. You can just search like launchpad.net, I think it is, and find like what packages are applied to what flavors of Ubuntu. Additionally, we have HTTP listening on port 5000, and it's not Nginx, Apache, or IIS. It's something called Gunicorn, or Green Unicorn. If you went and Googled this, you'd see it's a Python WSGI, which stands for Web Server Gateway Interface. Normally, it sits in the middle between Nginx and Python. And it does that because Python's not really threaded that well, and Nginx or Apache can't really call Python directly. So it sits in the middle, and it has tunable options like workers so you can deal with threading and things. You normally don't expose it directly to the internet because I don't think Green Unicorn has like a caching mechanism. So you'd want like Nginx or Apache to sit in front so you can install things like mod security, caching, etc. And then have a wrapper around that or call a WSGI such as Green Unicorn, Tornado, or UWSGI. I don't know what the U stands for in that, maybe micro or universal. Anyways, long story short, we're most likely dealing with a Python web server. So let us go check that out at 10.10.10.91, and we also have to specify port 5000. And we see under construction, this is feed.py, which will become the MVP for blog feeder application. And if we control U to view the source, we see /feed. So let's take a look at /feed. And we're still on that view source page and just getting an image. So feed is most likely literally outputting a image of a feed or RSS feed, which is odd. So let us go and throw this into GoBuster and see if we find any other pages. So GoBuster-U for URL, HTTP 10.10.10.91, port 5000, -W for word list, user share, word list, dirbuster, directory list, 2.3 medium.txt. And then we want to do -O for out, GoBuster-root.log, and let this run. It found feed and upload. And if you're wondering why I have this progress bar, it's just because I got the latest version of GoBuster. If you want it, make sure you update your Kali. So we can go to /upload and see what this says. This is a test API. The final API will not have the functionality, and we can upload a XML file. So let us go and just create a test file, upload it, and see what happens. Let's create please subscribe.txt and just put you should subscribe to Ipsec as the contents. And now we can go to the web server, make sure that burp is on, and it is intercepting. Go to browse, go to root, HTTP boxes, DevOops, please subscribe.txt, upload this, go back into burp, and we can see how it's organizing this file upload, and we just get the page back. We don't get anything. So it wants us to, it's easier if we just view the page, have the XML elements as author, subject, and content. So let's change that. So let's create a parent, please subscribe, and then we want to do / please subscribe. We just have to give it valid XML. So we're going to do author, IPsec, and then subject is also IPsec, and the content is, you guessed it, IPsec again. If we click go, we still get the same thing. Let's change this to please subscribe.xml. And do we have any like content types or anything? Text. Let's try text/XML. And we get internal server error. Okay, that is a little different. Let's see. Author, subject, content. These are all in caps. Maybe that matters. Let's try this. Click go. And there we go. We processed the blog post. Author's IPsec, subject's IPsec, content's IPsec. And we can just do 1, 2, 3 to make sure these fields are all unique. And they are. So we have it now processing XML. The next logical step is to go to the Git repository, payload all the things, and look for something like a XML Entity Injection payload, because it's processing XML, so that's normally the next step. There's other boxes like Fulcrum and Aragog, I believe, that have also used this. So let's see. Files, and we'll do classic XXE. That doesn't look like the one I want. That's ePassWD. We'll try this. So if we paste in the XML, we can do please subscribe, and it's putting and file where our XXE is. So we'll try this. Click go. And we get a internal server error. So let's see. Doc type data, that is fine. Then element data any, that looks fine. I'm actually not used to saying this pound a hashtag, but that should be fine. Looking at the next line, it's declaring the file with the full path. I know this works for PHP because it accepts these wrappers. I'm not sure about Python, so let's try getting rid of that. Does not look like that's the issue. Let's try getting rid of this because I'm not used to seeing that. And there we go. We got the file. So we have successfully LFI'd this box through XML Entity Injection, and we can just try adding this back to see if it allows this. And it looks like it does. So the issue was that little pound sign. I'm not sure if that's a requirement for some types of XML Entity Injection, so just, I guess, try it with and without it. Your results may vary. If you don't know how this works, I definitely recommend checking out the Canopy or Fulcrum video. Essentially, this header creates a external entity, which means it's using a system call to grab the contents of this and assign it into this variable. And then this is how we call that variable within the XML. So we can change this to anything. So we could change it to please subscribe. And then when we call file, it's not going to work. We get an internal server error. If we call please subscribe, we get the contents of the file because that's the variable that we assigned here. So hopefully that makes sense. The next logical thing to do, I think, is to go back, look at that homepage, and we see a reference to the file feed.py. So let's try grabbing that file. We don't know the full path. If you look down here, we have file path, but we can just abuse the current working directory and call feed.py. And then we have a piece of the file, it looks like XML Entity encodings do have some bad characters. So just before this, there's a bad character and we don't get the whole file. It's calling def uploaded file, so I'm guessing above here is like the app route to upload file or something. And if you're unfamiliar with how Python web applications work, you create routes, give the route a page, and then define the code. So right here we have the root of the page calling index.html. The next thing is /feed, and we got a fake feed function that just sends us a image. Then the next route we have is newpost. That is new, I believe. Looking back at GoBuster, we haven't got any newpost yet, so this looks like a hidden page we haven't explored. It's requiring the method post, so if we sent any other method to this, so if we turn burp on, go to 10.10.10.91 port 5000 newpost. If I can type, go on burp proxy, send that to repeater. I sent it twice. Click go, we get method not allowed. If we change the request method to a post request, we get internal server error. So going back into burp, looking at the source code to this, it is using pickles, which from Canopy we know is vulnerable, and I hope Canopy was an XML Entity injection. I don't think it was. Look at Fulcrum for that. There's another XML Entity box. If you just search YouTube for IPsec XML, I'm sure a few videos will pop up. Anyways, we are grabbing the data portion of the request. Data is what's down here. So we're grabbing that. We'll call this XXE or feed source. Maybe that'll stop me from clicking on tabs above. So we don't need that. So we grab request.data and we post that into loads, pickle.loads, and execute it. So we know pickles is vulnerable. We can potentially exploit this. So let us create a exploit script called, we'll call this exploit pickle.py. The very first thing we have to do is import pickle, and then they used, I believe, URL safe B64 decode. Yep. So let's use URL safe B64 encode. So if we go from base64, import URL safe B64 encode, and I hate typing URL safe, and because I just typoed it there, B64 encode as B64 encode. So doing this as thing just means we don't have to type URL safe _ every time. And the main difference between URL safe and not URL safe is standard base64 does include plus and like the character set, which URLs treat as a space. So it replaces that with a dash. So that's the only reason why we're using the URL safe version, because I'm not sure if URL safe base64 decode will decode a plus because it's expecting a dash. So the next thing is we got to create a string that's going to run, and I'm going to go to pentest monkey. Let's turn intercept off and just do pentest monkey reverse shell cheat sheet and grab this one because it is really reliable. So let's try this, and we'll have to edit the IP address actually. So if config ton 0, I had a typo there. We are 10.10.14.3. So let's try 10.10.14.3 and send a port back on 9001. Next piece is we have to create the actual pickle unserialization exploit. And like I said, we've done this in other videos, so I won't explain it too much. Essentially, you just got to create this reduce self function, because when you do a pickle.load, it is going to call reduce self to help clean up any objects that are not serializable or unserializable, and that would be like file handlers and things like that that just can't be serialized. And instead of erroring out, it calls reduce to shrink those objects down and remove them so it doesn't error. So we'll import OS, and then we want to return os.system, so we execute code, run me, and when we serialize, now we want to pickle this. So we'll do pickle.dumps, please subscribe, and the code had base64 decoded it, so let's encode it in B64, and we also want to print. And I'm doing this in Python 2, not Python 3, because if you remember from the Recon, we identified this was Ubuntu Xennial, and that defaults to having Python 2 on the system. I try to mimic the environment as close as possible to the target, and if I thought the target had Python 3, I'd be doing a Python 3 version of this, essentially. So if we run Python against exploit pickle, pick is not, oh, I didn't type pickle. There we go. Typo on run me. One of these days I'll learn how to type, but that day is not today. There we go. So now we have some base64 that looks dangerous. So if we paste this in, because it's going to do the pickle load on this string, it should give us a reverse shell. So netcat lvnp 9001, run this, and we get internal server error. Maybe this is bad. Let's just change content type to text. Yeah, because we didn't get a callback. There we go. We don't get anything back, so the content type being URL encoded or something like whatever it was confused Python, and it tried to go down a different path. So we just changed that to text, and there we go. We get a shell. So Python C import pty.spawn bin bash, and then we want to do stty raw minus echo, foreground it, and now we have a real shell. And we can see our uploaded file is pleasesubscribe.xml. So let's see, what else can we do with this? Let's cat config.py, see if there's any hard-coded secrets. Doesn't look like it. Let's go to the home directory, and we see we are literally the Roosa user. So it's not running as Apache or anything, it's running as Roosa. And if we went to wc-c on user.txt, we can see the length of that is 33, which is 32 characters and a line break, so that is the user.txt file. The logical next step may be to run like Linux prib checker or something to enumerate the box, but that's generally what I run after I do some manual enumeration just because it's noisy. The first thing I normally do is look around the user's home directory if I have it to see if they left any passwords or anything. We could try sudo-l, and it's doing, I guess, a DNS lookup and failing, so we gotta give this 30 seconds. And it returns us with enter the password for Roosa. We don't know the password, so we just Control-C out of that. If we look at the host name of the box, it doesn't look like, oh, it thinks it's called OS boxes and host. So if we had Roosa here, or not Roosa, Gitter here, and etc host, and it could resolve that, then this sudo wouldn't time out. But we want to try to find the password for Roosa to see if she can sudo. We can also check groups and see if she is a member of anything special. So ADM, that should give privileges to, I think, view logs. Sudo, that's why I wanted to do sudo. We don't see like LXD or anything else dangerous, so we can move on. If we looked at burp and went back to the feed source, at the very bottom we saw the file path was home Roosa deploy. So let us look in deploy. We can see resources and source. If we look at resources, there's integration. Looking at integration, we have auth-credentials.key. So it looks like we have a SSH key. So let us ls/home/stir.ssh. And the only person we can look at is Roosa. And she does have an ID RSA key. So if we cat home Roosa ID RSA .ssh, we see the very last line of the previous one ends in OEER0. This one ends in QU. So it's a different SSH key. I don't know why that keeps coming up. But we can try this SSH key for the other users. So let us grab this. Create a new thing, and we'll do v authcred.key, paste, and chmod 600, and then ssh-i authcred.key, and we know it's not Roosa, so we can try root at 10.10.10.91. Doesn't work. Let's see what other users are on this box. So if we do cat etsy passwd, there's blog feed. Let's just grep for bash. Export term is equal to xterm. Now I can clear the screen. We got root, git, and Roosa. So if we ssh git with that key, nothing works. And we know it's not Roosa. But if we wanted to, we could just use Roosa's key now, probably. Home Roosa .ssh ID RSA. I mistyped that. There we go. We could probably just use this key in the future to get to our box. So if we v roosa.key, paste chmod 600, and then ssh-i Roosa 10.10.10.91. There we go. So we got one key as her. There is a work directory, so let's look at work. Or actually, let's go deploy, and we'll do ls-la or find.-name.git. And we're just looking for like I forget what it's called, it stands for, but any versioning repositories on this. So we don't see anything there. Let's look at what's in her work folder. We got blog feed. Looking at blog feed, this looks like another web page, and it is probably the same web page. We see this .png that we recognize from before. I recognize it. So if we go to resources, integration, cat auth credentials, and we see it ends with OEER0, which is that same ending as before. So let's do that find command here. No subversions. And we see a Git repository. So if we do git log, we have a bunch of commits. So we can see this top one is using base 64 stuff, setting pin. So maybe this is a newer version of the blog feed app. But we see Roosa accidentally committed with a different key, it looks like. So if we look at this commit history, so git diff is what I want to do. And on that, we can see this SSH key got removed, and this one had got added. So let's try seeing what this is. We can copy this whole string, go back to our box, v unknown.key, paste this in. We can remove this space, and then we got to remove all these dashes. I was going to do a sed script to do that, and then realize it would mess with the beginning dash of begin RSA private key. So let's put that at the bottom and then put that at the top. Change begin to end. And then chmod 600 unknown.key. And we can ssh-i with unknown.key. And we can try the users again. 10.10.10.91. And that appears to be the root key. So the developer accidentally had placed the root key in the source code of the application, and then eventually changed it, but did not clear the log in the source code repository, so we could pull the old key from the log and get in the box. Relatively common mistake, so we could do wc-c on root.txt and get that. There were some unintended routes, the very first being you didn't have to do any of that pickle. If you just decided you wanted to, let's see, instead of feed.py, we can do home roosa.sh id rsa. And we can grab the RSA private key and just SSH right in without pickle. So generally, after I do a box, I try to think of other things I would have done to make the box better. And one thing I would have liked to see is like a way to, very much like, I think it was Canopy. I keep saying Canopy. Aragog has a XML Entity Injection. Canopy is another one with Git stuff. And I would have liked to have to see downloading the Git repository through an XML Entity Injection. And we're going to begin doing that. It's actually not possible, but it's good practice. And also, we want to create a Python script to exploit this XXE in case we did this on an actual engagement and the client wanted us to verify what they had was fixed. Instead of trying to remember how we formulated the XXE, it just works better if we have a Python script. So let's get into coding so we can do all of that. So let's get we can clean up all our sessions because we don't need to be connected anymore. So this one can be exited. This can be exited. Here we go. So let's move all the keys to make dir SSH keys, stir.key. There we go. And we'll make exploit XXE.py. So the very first thing in the exploit, we need to import requests. And I think that's, well, we need to import RE as well. So when coding this out, the very first thing we have to do is get files. And this isn't going to be super trivial because we have a bunch of junk in this request. So we want Python to only grab the contents of this. The easiest way to do that is to put some unique string before and after the file and then create regular expression to grab that. So I'm going to see if \n is a new line. It is not. Can I do a new line this way? I can. So we'll do subject, and this will be, we got to create some fun unique strings. So please subscribe to my channel. And I don't think this string will exist anywhere in the application. So we'll grab everything there. And then at the very end, we will put thanks for subscribing. And now when we click go, we have please subscribe to my channel, a line break, the file, a line break, thanks for subscribing. So we can create a regular expression around this to only grab the contents of the file. So that was the key thing we were doing there. So let's grab this payload and go into a request. We can say, get a definition for perform XXE. And the file name is what we want to call. XML is equal to F. We got to set, I deleted way too much. I forget the hotkey to restore that. So perform XXE, file name, and then XML is equal to set paste. Don't make that mistake again. And we can clean this up. We don't need all those blank lines. There we go. And let's see. This should be file name, because we're calling that, assigning that here. There we go. Then we want to do files is equal to file. That's the name we want. So name will be file. And this is going to be a bit wonky, but request likes everything in dict, and then this field is a tuple. This will be the file name of that. So this is file name. We can call this please subscribe.xml. And then the contents of that is this XML up here. Okay? So we can do response is equal to request.post http 10.10.10.91 port 5000 upload. And then, surprised it didn't auto indent. I think I have an error in my code somewhere. We want to do proxies is equal to http 10 nope 127.0.0.1 port 8080. So we're sending everything in our Python script to burp because, well, it's handy for debugging things when we create mistakes. And then files is equal to file, since we're uploading a file. And we can end the post, and we just want to grab text. So we can return response. And if we do perform XXE, and we'll just get etc pass wd to see if this works. Python 3. And we did not print the results. So if we do print perform XXE, there we go. So now we have everything. We have all this junk that we want to erase. So we will create a regular expression. So we'll do result is equal to re.findAll, and then and we want to begin with please subscribe to my channel. And then we want to grab or do a line break with \s. And then .star. This is going to grab everything. And then we want to ignore a line break and do thanks. So grab that and grab thanks for subscribing. That should be a good regular expression. We want to run that against the contents of response. And we have to enable .all, which means, I think it's lowercase dot. Maybe it's uppercase. I don't think it matters, actually. And what that .all is doing is saying this period matches everything, including line breaks. So, and we only want to grab the very first response out of that, or the first match. So let's see if that works. We got to return result. And there we go. So let's see. It's still giving us a line break, which is odd. If we do two of these, it's probably not going to match at all. Nope, there we go. So I was an idiot with this. We have it, the file ends, it does a line break here, then does a line break, then thanks for subscribing. So without doing the two \s's, we include this \s, but not that one. So that's why you have to do two. So there we go. We have a way to automate this injection. And we could just loop while true, and then do something like fname is equal to input, and then perform this on fname. And now the script etc pass wd home Roosa id .ssh id underscore rsa. And I have a quick way to do the file inclusion vulnerability without using burp, but we want to grab the contents of this Git repository, and there is a dvcs pillage script which does this in bash. So if we look at this, git pillage.sh, it's using curl and everything, and you can imagine this is going to be really messy with that XXE, because if we go to burp and copy this as a curl command, not only is it long, but then you have to take into account that we have to remove all that junk we did with a regular expression. It's just easier to put this into Python. And this isn't going to work because earlier in the video we discovered there's bad characters with XML Entity Injections, and this is configured to bzip everything in the Git repository. And when you do that, it's going to create a bunch of bad characters that the script eventually won't like. But this will kind of explain the start of the process and show you not every attempt ends successfully, and this still just teaches us kind of how .git organizes files, and it's just good practice. So we're going to do this even though it doesn't work. Right down here is where the script actually begins, and it's creating a Git repository locally and then going into that. So let us do that manually. So let's make directory, we'll call this blog, go into blog, and then get init, and then we can go into .git. So this is where it's going, and then it's doing a git command on head, and up here they probably have git defined. So let's see, there we go, function git, and this is downloading a file. So we already have the getting file portion. We just need to do the saving file. So let's go back into our script, and we'll copy our script into this folder. So copy exploit XXE in here, and we just have to create a new function to save files. So we'll call this def get file, file name, and this will be f content is equal to perform XXE on file name, f is equal to open file name as write, and f.write f.content. So now when we get a file, it is going to save it. And we can get rid of this while true. So if we do feed.py, Python 3, we have to put this in quotes, and it did not save. So let's see what happened there. It said out of range. So if we look in our proxy HTTP history, here's a post to upload. We have the please subscribe to my channel and subscribe. If we look at the response, it cut it off. So we don't have that. So we have to change up our regular expression. Let's do, do we have it at the end? We do have it at the end. We just have to change up the beginning. So if we go here, we probably want author ipsec1 \s, and then it wants, is that a space subject? I believe so. Subject. Oh, we can just do probably ipsec stir subject space. So we can try this. And then we want to get rid of this needless line break, because that's not always going to be true. And we want to grab feed.py. Index out of range still. So let's look at HTTP history on the latest one. Just send this to repeater and play with it manually. So it gets this. And I guess we'll get rid of this. So author, let's do ipsec1, new line, subject space. Let's try this. Still out of range. Let's pretend it doesn't have that. Out of range. So we're screwing something up. So subject, let's just try putting that space back in. And I think I just did stir last time. So let's do .stir ? And try this. There we go. That's looking better. So that's what we needed. And if we get etc past WD, let's make sure it doesn't end on that line break. I have it hard-coded to feed.py. etc past WD. Okay, so that's good. The last thing we want, feed.py. And instead of perform XXE, we want get file. File feed.py. And file name is not defined, because I have a typo here. There we go, it returns none, but we got the file, feed.py, and it saved it. So now we have that get function working. Let's go back here, and we can get head and get config. So we don't need to print anything. This will be, what does he call it? Get static files, head, and config. And before we do this, we have to work a little magic and just know that config is going to be in home, Roosa, was it work? Let's see. We have a valid directory, it returns nothing, invalid returns nothing. Okay. Work.get/config, is that the directory? No. Let's make sure it's just not our code. etc past WD, return something. So let's try home Roosa work, was it blog feed.get config? There we go. So this is the path we want, and we always want to ignore .get. So hard code this in our script. So we will say, where's the file? Up here. System, this, and we'll call this script now get pillage.py. So let's edit this, and if we do python get pillage.py, line 15 has an error. We didn't really change this. Oh, Python 3. My bad. There we go. And we can look at head. We can look at config. And it's looking like we got the files off the server. So go back into a git pillage, and we can do the next step. The next step they have is get references from head. So get references from head. And this script is doing a cat on.get head and grabbing what's after space. So we can make our own code that will do head is equal to open head for read. Then reference is equal to head.split. And we want to grab the second thing. So if we look at the file head, it's just doing ref colon and then this. And the script wants to grab this. So when we split it on space and grab 1, we're grabbing that. If we grab 0, we grab ref colon. So that code has been mimicked. And all we have to do now is call get file on ref. Okay. And I also notice description is here. I'm going to get file description. I don't know if their script ever does it. I don't think it's needed, but might as well. Okay. We run git pillage again. We cat description. Didn't really get anything. If we cat refs head master, we get a commit. So let's move on. They have a git sha command, and we're doing a bunch of bash stuff here. So this is grabbing the very first 2 characters, and this is grabbing characters 2 to 40. And we can verify that if we just said like dir is equal to we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then do echo dir, and they're calling 1, 0, 2 like that. Dir is equal to 0, 2 like that. I'm actually not sure about that. I don't like doing this stuff in bash, but essentially that's grabbing the very first 2 characters and this is grabbing 2 on. So we can do that in Python simply enough. So I'll have to look at exactly how that works in bash. So we can create a new function called def get sha, and we want to create a variable sha, I guess. And then directory name is equal to sha2. So that's going to grab the first 2 characters, and then fname is equal to sha3. I think like that. We can test this. So Python dir is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then dir 2 should get 1, 2. And then dir 2 colon 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's what we want. And that's what that bash is doing. And then after that, we want to do get file f objects dir fname dname fname. Okay. So 4 is going to be get object from ref, and they're doing a get sha and catting ref. So we can do ref object is equal to open or reference or dot read, get SHA on ref object. If we do Python 3, get pillage, index out of range. We look at our history. We see internal server error. And this does look correct, as that is the SHA. If we grab this, wc echo-n, wc-c, pipe, get rid of that backslash or slash // we can see it is a SHA-1 hash, which is what Git uses. It's just this file contains a bunch of bad characters that cause the server to barf. So if we go in HTTP history, forward this to repeater, click go, internal server error. If this file didn't exist, the server would just do nothing. So we know we got a valid file. I don't know why it won't undo to go to the beginning. We know we have a valid file, it's just the server doesn't want to handle it. And if we had SSH'd into the box, -i, what is it, unknown, 10.10.10.91, home, Roosa, work, blog feed, Git, we were in objects, refs, cd objects, cd 7f, and then that's the file. And if we cat this file, we see a bunch of characters and some non-ASCII, like that E. So that is why this method just randomly breaks, and we can't progress further through converting this script. But if you want to, you can do this on your own, and instead of doing it through XML, just create a open web directory and try to git clone it, or do this on Canopy. Convert this script into a Python script. It started for you, so enjoy doing that extra challenge, because I'm sure you'll learn a lot on how Git works, and additionally, you'll get a new tool out of it. So, yep, take care all. I'll see you next week.